There you are. So we'll get started. So in this video, we are looking at the structure and the function of the human circulatory system. And we want to revise the whole topic in less than 15-20 minutes, the entire topic. So the first thing you need to know what your circulatory system is. Okay. The circulatory system is normally a transport system in which the body moves blood, moves oxygen, nutrients, and hormones and waste products. That's the main thing that it does, is the movement of the blood. And the blood will always carry things like oxygen that are needed, things like glucose, amino acids that are needed, so nutrients, things like hormones, you see, to where they are needed. For example, you can talk about the thyroxine, you can talk about the estrogen, you can talk about the insulin. Those hormones, they are normally carried in blood, okay? And waste products as well, such as urea around the body. Okay, so you need to know you need to be able to give some examples of hormones in exam. So we're not doing that today, and also some nutrients, some examples of nutrients. So things like glucose, for example, amino acids, for example, fatty acids. These are nutrients that needs to be carried along the body to various parts, to the cells and stuff like that. So this is the job of circulatory system. Your blood needs to move around to carry essential things like oxygen, like nutrients, like hormones, and also to carry waste products such as urea, for example, to where they are needed. Okay. Now, circulatory system sometimes is normally called the cardiovascular system. Cardio is to do with the heart. So cardiovascular system. So um, we will be looking at some questions later, not now. We're going to be looking at some questions later, not now. What we're going to be doing now is just basically a summary to relearn things. So in front of me, I've got the heart, the structure of the heart and what it involves. And I just want to talk through this very, very quickly. So I'm going to pick my highlighter here and my laser. So this is the heart. The heart is normally divided into the top part of the heart that is called the atrium, this part here and this part, the atrium, and the bottom part that is called the ventricles. So you have the ventricle there and you also have the ventricle there. Now, the other way of looking at the heart is the division, the left and the right hand side. So this side of the heart is always called left. So this is going to be the left atrium and this is going to be the left ventricle. And this is going to be the right atrium and this is going to be the right ventricle. So that's one way of looking at it. Now, the function of the heart is to pump blood to all over the parts of the body. That's the main thing it does. But before the blood is pumped all over the body, the blood must always go to the lungs, which is kind of at the top here. And usually, let's start with the heart pumping blood to the body. So we're going to start from here. The blood leaves the heart through what we call aorta. This is an artery. Arteries are basically blood vessels that will always take blood away from the heart to all other parts of the body. So this is basically the aorta, is the largest artery. So it will take the blood all over the body, your legs, to your kidneys, and so on. Now, then after that, the aorta is going to divide into what they call capillaries, small vessels that will now access the cells, to transfer what is in the cell, like for example, glucose, oxygen, and all that. So this will be capillaries, very thin and very tiny. Then, once blood has gone to the body and has taken the supplies of oxygen, for example, glucose, the blood will just come back again to the heart through what we call a vein. And this vein called the vena cava is always the largest vein we can talk about. So there's this vein coming from the bottom part of the body, and there's another one that will have come from the top part of the body, and they unite and they enter through the right atrium. Okay, so blood is leaving the body, leaving the heart all the way, and then comes back again through the vena cava. So that's the first thing. Now, once it enters the right atrium passes the blood down to the ventricle, and this right ventricle now compresses, just basically like contracts, to put pressure on the blood, and the blood will now go through what we call pulmonary artery. This pulmonary artery now takes blood to the lungs for oxygenation. And once the blood has got oxygen from the lungs, it will come back again through what we call pulmonary vein, all right, back the heart through the left atrium, Okay, and then to pass down now to the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle to now go back up again, passing through this particular aorta here, all the way to the blood, all the way to the body. So this is the circulation in summary. This is circulation in blood in summary, and you should be able to know that. Okay, now let's go to the next thing now. The heart is normally made out of, as I said already, they can ask you to describe the structure of the heart and what it does. So it's a muscular organ that's located in the chest, thoracic cavity, and its function is to pump blood throughout the body. And it's got 4 chambers: the right atrium and the right ventricle, which is this side, as you already said, this side, and then the left atrium and the left ventricle, which are basically this side. Atriums at the top, ventricle at the bottom. Now you also have valves. The valves will always prevent the flow of blood. You will always find them here. There's this valve here, and there's this valve here. What they do now, they prevent the blood from flowing back, because the blood can make a U-turn and come back the ventricles. So the blood needs to go forward. So there's this valve here that blocks it from making a U-turn, and there's this one here that also blocks it from making a U-turn. So these are basically valves. They prevent the blood from flowing back. We have tricuspid valve and bicuspid valve, for example, and their job is to prevent backflow of blood. That's what they do. Okay. Now, I want you to challenge yourself. Think about how you can level this diagram with these particular parts that have been here. If you find this in exam and you have to match them, can you match them? Maybe you can pause the video and try matching them and see now whether it's something you can do. Okay, we're going to move on now to the next part now. The next part is going to be on blood vessels. Yes, the work of the heart is to pump blood, but that blood needs to move through vessels, through tubes. And the largest one is called the artery. Arteries, they normally transport blood away from the heart at a very high pressure. The blood from the heart is always at a very high pressure. So we have the arteries, and the two types we spoke about. We spoke about the aorta. This aorta here is an artery, and then we also have the pulmonary artery. Their job is to take blood away from the heart to the lungs, and of course to the body. So the blood is at high pressure, and because of this, they need to be really thick. Their walls need to be thick, and they need to have they have to be elastic walls. That means they should be able to stretch and relax to stand the pressure. The pressure will always vary. Sometimes it's low, sometimes it's high, it's low. So it has to be elastic to withstand that. And then it always have small lumen. Small lumen is basically like you can think of it as the area of this circle here, how big it is, this circle inside this tube. So that's always tend to be a bit small compared to the thickness of the wall. So it's very, very small. Okay. And the reason why that is the case is because you want the pressure to be maintained. The blood is moving at high pressure. So if the lumen is very wide, the pressure will go down. So that is why it's like that. Then the veins, usually they bring blood back to the heart. They bring blood back to the heart, as you can see here. So we have the vena cava, which is the main vein that brings the blood back. And then you also have the pulmonary vein that brings the blood back from the lungs. So veins' jobs is to bring back blood back to the heart from all over parts of the body. So because of this, they carry blood towards the heart, and the blood is always at low pressure because it's now coming back again to the heart. Heart is the pump. So the wall, they've got thinner walls. As you can see now, the wall here is very, very thin, and that's because the pressure is not that much. And it's got valves to prevent backflow. The blood is flowing at a low pressure, so there's a tendency for the blood to stop and make a U-turn. Their valves are like blockages, like flaps that will prevent the blood from going back. Now, capillaries are very, very thin, and their job is to access the cells. So they connect arteries to veins in between, and they also therefore exchange of materials. And you find them near the cells. They're the ones from which the things are going to diffuse. For example, glucose will diffuse from here, enter the lung, enter the cells, carbon dioxide and so on. So they're the ones that are doing the job of the exchange. And they're very thin walls. In fact, they're one cell thick to make the things that are needed to diffuse in and out, the substances that are needed, the nutrients, whatever is to diffuse in and out easily. So this is how they're adapted to do this. Now, the other thing now we also need to know that there are the blood cells, the components of blood, and there are 4 types of blood cells that make up the blood. You got the red blood cells, the white, the platelets, and the plasma. These together, they make the blood that you see. The most important one in terms of carrying oxygen is the red blood cells. These are red blood cells, and you can see now they're disc shaped. They are biconcave to increase surface area for what? For carrying oxygen. And they've got what we call hemoglobin. They normally have what we call hemoglobin. So I take my pen. So they are disc shaped. They are disc shaped, and they have what we call hemoglobin. And this hemoglobin will always increase the surface area to carry blood. Hemoglobin is always a substance, is a protein that will always cling to what? Will always cling to oxygen. Without hemoglobin, your oxygen cannot be carried in these red blood cells. No. So that's how it's adapted. Another thing about red blood cells, they don't have nucleus to create space for plenty of oxygen to be carried. So they don't have nucleus with them. They never have it. Okay. And I say they're disc shaped because to increase the light surface, to increase the surface area for transporting what? Oxygen. We also have white blood cells, like the ones you're seeing here, and their job is to defend the body against diseases like bacteria and viruses. They will always produce what we call antibodies to counteract the antigens that are produced by the pathogen. Sometimes they engulf, some of them will always engulf, like to swallow up, if you want to use that word, to surround and then digest the pathogen. That's what the white blood cells do. They help us to fight diseases. They are part of our immune system. Okay. So if you don't have white blood cells, then any infection you can die quickly. Then we have the platelets. The platelets, they normally help the blood to clot, so then you don't bleed. So when you have a small cut, that needs to clot, that needs to dry up quickly. Otherwise, you can lose a lot of blood. Okay. And the plasma is the liquid part of blood that carries everything. It carries nutrients, hormones, carbon dioxide, waste, and even these other blood cells are suspended in plasma. Is a liquid part of the blood, as you can see. Okay, so we've looked at the structure of the heart. We've looked at the functions of the blood vessels and their structures, and we've also looked at the components of the blood. So basically, the blood cells. All right. Now, in humans, the circulatory system is very interesting. It's called double circulation, and what that means, as you can see in this diagram, there's that part of the diagram that looks red, and that looks blue. Red symbolizes blood that has got oxygen in it, and that blood will have been blood that have left aorta and is going towards other parts of the body, the red part. So while blood is being pumped through aorta to all other parts of the body, something happened at the same time. Blood will also be going to the what? Also go to the lungs as well for oxygenation. So there are two things happening: some blood going to the all over part of your body, and some going back to the lungs. Now, this that have gone towards your body will come back through the vena cava here, and as they come back, even the one that went to your lungs now will return again. So there are two things happening here. We have pulmonary circulation. Here, blood flows from the heart to the lungs and back for gas exchange to get oxygen and to release carbon dioxide. We have systemic circulation. Here, blood flows from the heart to the rest of the body. And this is to deliver oxygen and nutrients. We need to understand this. So pulmonary circulation is the one that goes to the lungs to collect oxygen and to deliver carbon dioxide, so gas exchange. And systemic circulation is the one whereby the blood goes to all over parts of the body to take oxygen and nutrients there and to bring back with it carbon dioxide and wastes. Okay. Now, the next thing that we need to know is the functions of the circulatory system. You need to know what is the main function of the circulatory system. Think about the things that the blood is carrying. The blood carries oxygen to the cells from the lungs, carries carbon dioxide from the cells to the lungs to breathe it out. It carries glucose, nutrients, and waste such as urea and stuff like that. Okay, and you also carry things like hormone and all that. But let's just talk about like that first as a separate point. The other thing is that blood as it's flowing is going to maintain what we call body temperature and pH balances. That flowing of blood, the blood, if your feet is cold, very quickly the whole of your body is going to be cold as well, because the blood, as it's circulating, is carrying that heat with it. So it's body temperature and also pH balance as well. The other thing about the blood, that it protects the body through immune cells and clotting. So protection. We spoke about the white blood cells, and we talk about the platelets. Platelets will clot, and then the white blood cells are going to fight your pathogens. The other thing about the system is that it regulates body processes through hormone transport. It's transporting hormone, and these hormones are going to regulate you. For example, we have, for example, insulin. Insulin is needed in blood after you've eaten your glucose to bring it down. If that doesn't happen, then you can die. Something bad can happen to you. Do you see this? All right. So these are some of the things that we need to know. All right. So let's go. Now, we normally have people suffering from diabetes. And if care is not taken, sometimes they have to ampute their legs. They have to cut their legs off. It's quite sad. And that's because the circulation of the blood becomes really poor on their limbs. And when the circulation of the blood becomes poor like that, then the healing of their wounds, the infection, does normally heal, and they have to be cut off. So let's say, for example, you have the fingertip. This is your fingertip, and it's sore, and it's got wound there, and it's not healing up. Then sometimes they have to cut it off. Now, why the healing will not work is usually the blood flow to that part is normally not very good. In fact, sometimes the senses there are very low because not much blood is going there. And if not much blood is going there, your sensation reduces in that particular part. So sometimes they have to just cut them off. Okay, sometimes they just have to cut them off. Now, the next thing now, we need to know some disorders. Just very quickly, we have hypertension. Hypertension is when you have high blood pressure that goes beyond normal. These are some of the diseases, disorders that are affected, that are, linked with the circulatory system. We also have the narrowing of the arteries, and we also have the blocking of coronary artery. Now, when your coronary artery is blocked, that means that the blood and the oxygen that is supposed to go to the walls and the muscles of your heart is blocked. So the heart itself, the muscles of the heart itself is not receiving glucose, is not receiving oxygen, and therefore it's not receiving enough energy to contract and relax. And at that point in time, we say you have heart attack. And if care is not taken, you can actually die of heart attack. It's very, very easy because it can't contract and relax. The oxygen that's going there is not enough, and it's not enough, so you can die. And then the narrowing of artery source is very bad, and that can limit the supply of oxygen and glucose to your body, and you can always feel weak. So these are some of the things. Now, in the next video, we're going to be looking at questions. Now that we've done revision, we're going to look at questions to do this. But what I want to do now, I would like you to please click subscribe. So then when we do videos like this, we don't have to share them to you through WhatsApp or Facebook, whatever it is. You can just see the notification come, or the video just appear on your phone, and then you can just play it. So click subscribe, please. And then I would like you to click like, and then click share. You can share as many friends as you have. Okay, so click subscribe, click like, and click share. Okay, and that's going to be the end of this video. That's going to be the end of this.